And I am going to get in the frame. Hey guys, it's your buddy Jake Dominguez back with another movie review. Today, I'm going to review one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Beauty and the Beast, the 2017 remake. I was excited for this movie. I was really interested. Does it hold up to the original film that I loved so much? Let's talk about it. So, you know the story. You've all seen this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, what is wrong with you? Go see it immediately. Come on. We all know the story. It's a story of Belle, a very strange, adventurous, smart, beautiful girl who is held captive and held prisoner, if you will, by this horrible, monstrous beast. She agrees to be basically live there as a prisoner in order to save her father. And while she lives in the beast's castle, they begin to kind of fall for each other, and after a while they begin to fall in love. And it's just, that's the basic plot in a nutshell, right? I mean, come on. If you haven't seen this movie, what's wrong with you? I shouldn't have to explain the plot to this movie, and that really is the basic plot of this remake. This remake is directed by Bill Condon, a very talented director who's made such films as Dreamgirls, which I'm a big fan of, Mr. Holmes, which I thought was a really interesting movie. I was really surprised by that one. He's made lots of other movies, like Gods and Monsters, which I've never seen. I know a lot of people are big fans of that one. Kinsey or Kinsley, what's that one called about the Liam Neeson? Haven't seen that one. Of course, heard lots of great things about that one too. He's also directed 2 Twilight movies. So he's had an interesting career, a very interesting filmography, and to be fair, those 2 Twilight movies were probably the most well-directed out of all of them. I think if you had to direct those screenplays, they're about as great as you can get. So he's a very talented filmmaker. And I read something like forever ago, I think when he was doing press for Mr. Holmes, when Disney approached him with the idea to do a remake of Beauty and the Beast, the classic, 1991 animated film, I believe it was 1991, they wanted him to do something different, to kind of do a more of a reimagining, if you will. And he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, of course, he said, why would you do a Beauty and the Beast without doing Be Our Guest? Like, the film is a classic, let's honor it, let's kind of take those musical numbers and everything we love about the original film and put it into this new movie. And really, the plot I explained for this new movie is the same as this old one. I've already made that perfectly clear. It is a remake. And I was really nervous going to see this film. You guys don't understand, I love Beauty and the Beast. I am many things. A Star Wars geek, I'm a DC geek, I love Batman and Superman, I'm a Marvel geek, I love Spider-Man and the MCU movies that they're doing. I'm a movie geek. Look at all that. I have quite a few movies, don't I? I am just a complete another fanboy. That's what I am. Star Trek. I mean, you name it. I'm a fan of it. But above all things, I am a Disney geek. I have been a Disney geek my entire life, and Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite films of all time. As long as I can remember, I've loved this movie. We own like 2 copies of the VHS of this, for no other reason than we love the movie. I have this Blu-ray. This was like the very first Blu-ray they put out with like the original DVD features on here. It's scratched because of how many times I've watched it. Me and my family have watched it. I just love this movie. I'm such a big fan of Beauty and the Beast. We got that Beauty and the Beast, the Enchanted Christmas direct-to-video movie right away when it came out because of how much it was Beauty and the Beast. I didn't care. I wanted to get it, so we got it right away when it came out on home video. I'm such a big Beauty and the Beast fan that I even made my parents buy the original VHS of Belle's Magical World, the direct-to-video sequel thing. We have the special edition, too. We have 2 copies of Belle's Magical World. These don't really hold up to the original classic film. But anyway, I love the original Beauty and the Beast. I was nervous about it, but to just go out and say it, I went to see this movie today. It was a packed house, and I loved it. I loved the new Beauty and the Beast remake. I was shocked and surprised by how much I loved it. Now, I am pretty biased. I'm a Disney fan. I've always been interested by the history of the company, and I love all their films. More importantly, obviously, I love the original film so much. I love musicals. I'm coming with this movie for a lot of baggage, but for me, I honestly loved it. Let's talk about all the things I loved about this movie. First of all, it's the cast itself. I love Emma Watson. I love her. She seems like an awesome person. I mean, first of all, and come on, she's Hermione. Ever since I was a little kid, I've seen her like, I don't know how many times I've seen those movies and read the books, of course, but she is great in this movie. She's fantastic. She really shows that she just isn't Hermione Granger. She's a genuinely great actress. She's been in lots of other great films like The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I thought she was fantastic in that one. But she is great in here. She is wonderful. They couldn't have got a better person to play a live action Belle. I mean, she was perfect. She was fantastic. Her singing voice, it was great. She did a great job with all the music. Her singing voice just isn't as like, beautiful and angelic like as the original Belle. What's her name? Oh my goodness, I can't believe I can't remember it. Paige O'Hara, I think is her name, or something like that, who was a theater actress primarily, but overall she sounded great. I loved Belle in this movie. She was confident, she took charge, she was heroic, just like the original Belle. She was great. I loved her. Dan Stevens as the Beast, fantastic. I thought he nailed it. He was great. The Beast, I totally cared about him. I felt sympathy for him. He was scary, but he also cared about him at the same time, and he really proved himself to be a hero at the end. He was great. One thing I was nervous about in this movie was all the CGI they were going to do for him. They did a lot of motion capture stuff. I was nervous about that. Even in the trailers, I'm like, oh man, that better work in the movie. That better turn out okay. And it does. He looks great. I have no problems with the visual effects. I totally bought it. It never took me out of the movie for the most part. It looked really good. I mean, it looked really great. All the cast is great. What's his name? Luke Evans, who plays Gaston. Holy cow, that guy better be in like tons of musicals from now on. I mean, he's already great in like the Fast and Furious movies and all that he was in. He's already a great actor, but his singing voice, the guy can sing. He's awesome, and he's hysterically funny in this movie. But at the same time, he's also pretty darn evil, which that fits Gaston. He was great. Josh Gad, he was great as LeFou. Every scene between him and Gaston in this film was hilarious. They almost stole the movie. They were so great. The entire cast is awesome. I might as well just go through everyone. Ewan McGregor. I mean, Ian McKellen. I mean, they were perfect. You couldn't cast anyone better. I mean, Ewan McGregor with a French accent, it worked. It was awesome. The Stanley Tucci and like Audra McDonald, I think is her name. Fantastic. I mean, the whole cast is great. And they couldn't have cast the whole cast. They couldn't have cast better people. I was so impressed. They were all awesome. This movie is huge. This is a big movie. And if I have a word to describe this remake, it's that. The sets are huge. This is a beautiful movie. It's one of those movies where your eyes are just boggling at all the beautiful things that are on screen. I mean, the costume design is beautiful. The production design is beautiful. There's a lot of practical effects going on. Lots of CGI, lots of special and visual effects, but they all blend in seamlessly. Of all the visual effects in this movie, I was never really taken out of it. I always bought into it. It wasn't like I was like, oh, that's CGI. I mean, that's obviously a video game. In this case, it all blended perfectly. I was really happy with it. It was awesome, but it's so beautiful looking. I mean, this movie, you can just sit back and watch it. The way Bill Condon photographs it, the way everything is designed, it's like, wow, it is gorgeous looking. But that doesn't matter if the story doesn't work. And even though at the end of the day it really is just almost a scene from scene remake as the original film, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a second, but it was its own thing. They made some differences from the original story that we saw in the original Beauty and the Beast film, and it made it its own. They added their own little flavors and things to it. A lot of the more cartoony humor that we loved in the original is gone, and it's not a problem because totally in this film it works, and it's still really funny, and it just works. I don't know what else to say. Everything in this movie worked pretty darn well. I'm surprised. I mean, I can just go on and praise everything. Alan Menken's musical score. What more do I need to add? The guy is a genius. Howard Ashman, may he rest in peace, is a genius as well. Tim Rice came on with Alan Menken to compose some new lyrics and stuff like that for a few new songs in the film. Now, there are 3 new songs in this movie at least, and they're all great. I didn't have any problems with them. There is one song in particular that's the last, new song in the movie. I won't say who sings it. I won't say it any more than that, but I loved it. That was my favorite new song out of all of them, and it definitely fit in with the rest of the original classic music from the classic film. This movie was pretty darn great. I don't know what else to say for it. This is the kind of movie that I love to see at a theater. I'm a massive musical guy. I mean, I've always loved musical theater. That's just my family. And I've always been interested in incorporating that into filmmaking. And with the great cast and the great music and the great, production quality, it was great. I don't know how to pronounce the director of photography's name. I'm not even going to try. I'll put him down in the description below. But he's worked with Peter Berg a lot and a bunch of other films. But the guy is insanely talented. He's one of my favorite director of photographers. Did I say the right? Oh, well, working today. He is insanely good. And this movie, he shot it so beautifully. One thing I love is that there are so many shots in this movie where there's imaginary camera movements. Let me explain that a little bit better. When you're watching a movie and the camera, they use computer effects to make the camera zoom everywhere out and stuff like that. It starts on the window of a castle, for example, and the camera zooms out and pans everywhere until it gets to the forest. That kind of thing. David Fincher occasionally does shots like that where they use special effects to make the camera move all around. I'm personally not a big fan of that. I don't like when movies do that. It kind of takes me out of the moment, but one thing that impressed me is that it never bothered me in this movie. I think it just fit in with the fairy tale Disney aspect of it all. And it didn't even really occur to me until after the movie where I was like, it didn't bother me this time. The imaginary, impossible to do in real life camera moves worked. They all fit. The musical numbers are fantastically choreographed. I love the Be My Guest musical sequence. It was fantastic. This movie is insanely entertaining. I had a blast watching it, and I loved it. But again, I'm coming with a lot of baggage. Like I mentioned earlier, this is just my taste in movies. I mean, everyone is biased when they watch a movie, right? I mean, that's a complaint we can throw at film critics when we don't like a movie, oh, you're just biased. You don't really like Marvel, or you don't know what you're talking about. You're biased, blah, blah, blah. We're all biased. We all have our tastes and biases in movies. Everything that I do in one day before I sit down in a movie theater and watch a movie affects my viewing of that movie. And that's the same for everyone. As much as I loved this movie, I can totally imagine why someone would come and watch it and not be as into it as I am, just because, first of all, it's a musical. I know some people don't love musicals, or people, sit up and sing about what they're feeling. And I love the original film so much. Someone who doesn't love it as much might just enjoy it for what it is. It's a fantastically well-made movie, but I can see why somebody wouldn't love it as much as I did. This is definitely one of those movies where I could get maybe some of the criticisms that some may have of it. In terms of those criticisms of the film, it's hard to think of a lot. For me, I guess one problem that I think a lot of people will complain about, and people have complained about it before they even see the movie, which I don't know if that's fair or not, but it is a remake. We live in a world today where originality is not existent in Hollywood today. Everything is a sequel or a remake or a franchise or anything like that. And even though it's very much its own thing, there's certain characters that have been changed and motivations and stuff like that, which I think worked extremely well. It is basically a scene-for-scene remake of the original classic Disney Beauty and the Beast. That's what it is. One of the reasons I enjoyed this movie and why the crowd I saw it with enjoyed it so much is based on our love of the original Disney film. And that is a thing. And I can totally imagine somebody who wanted something a little bit more different, a little bit more, even though this film does it just a little bit, they might be disappointed with that. I mean, what did you go in expecting from a Beauty and the Beast remake? Do you want something a bit more different, a bit more, a bit more original, I can see you not digging this movie as much as I did. But at the same time, for me, think of the classic Beauty and the Beast song. It says it's a tale as old as time, right? And for me, I think what they did with this movie worked. I think the fact that they kept the original story worked well for what they needed to do. I don't think that I would want them to change it all up. It added different things, kind of similar to what they did with like Disney's Maleficent or something like that, or the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movies. I mean, I enjoyed those films for what they are, but honestly, I'm fine with this just being like the classic original film. In this case, it worked. I emotionally connected to the characters. I loved all the new backstory and stuff they added. They added some more character moments and stuff like the film. And the script. One more thing I'll say is the screenplay is great. One of the writers for this is Stephen Chomsky. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's one of my favorite writers. He wrote and directed The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and he's the writer of the original book. He's done lots of other stuff, but this is a great script. I mean, they had a great adaptation of an already great story and a great screenplay. I loved all the new character moments between Belle and the Beast. Loved them. It was that classic romance feel, and I have a feeling that he brought in a lot of that. I'm forgetting the other writer's name right now, but the script worked well. All the dialogue and characters were there. They were great. And I could go on and on, but overall, I thought this movie was pretty fantastic. And it's just what I like to see in a movie. For me, this just fits everything that I love seeing in a film. But at the same time, I can see why somebody would come in and think it's just fine. But for me, I loved it. And for all the filmmakers who made this movie, thank you. I loved this movie. The whole crowd was cheering and applauding at the end and throughout the film. At the end of the movie, there were little kids who went down to like where the screen was, because it was the biggest auditorium in the movie theater. It was like a huge, huge, huge auditorium. And they were all like dancing and waltzing during the end credits music. Like, it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. It was freaking adorable. It was awesome. Everyone I talked to loved the movie. It was a huge hit in the movie theater. It's already being projected to be a massive financial hit this weekend. The filmmakers of Beauty and the Beast, great job. And I'll give you the biggest praise I can get. One of the reasons the original Beauty and the Beast is so great is because of one man, Howard Ashman. And for those who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. The original lyricist for Beauty and the Beast. The reason that this movie is so great is because of Howard Ashman, who passed away before the movie was even completed. The filmmakers who made this new movie, Don Hahn and Bill Condon and all you guys, for the record, Howard Ashman would be proud. He would love this movie, and that's the highest compliment I could give it. I'm going to give Beauty and the Beast an A-, a solid A-. I loved it. It might be my favorite film that came out this year. I mean, I loved Logan and Get Out and Split, but this is what I love seeing in the movie. And I'm going to see it again. I might even raise my grade. I don't know, but I'm going to leave it at an A- for now. I absolutely loved it. I would recommend checking it out. Well, guys, that's my rambling review for Beauty and the Beast. Sorry, I'm usually not as enthusiastic as I usually am. I'm recording this very late at night. I've had to work all day, so it's been pretty crazy, but I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and no matter what, never forget, I'm your friend. I'm always going to be there for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.